So for the castle wall, we're essentially going to be building a large stone-covered structure that everything else is going to be kind of coming out of. Now there's a few ways that we could do this. To be honest though, the easiest way is going to be set up one giant BSP wall from here to here, and then to kind of build meshes off of that face. So let's do that. I'm going to go to my geometry, and I'm just going to drag in a box. And this is going to be, just going to do 100 snap grid. Quickest way for me to get this back on grid is to delete that and re-add it. So I want this to be positioned at the halfway mark, so that as I kind of build from it, we extend. So the halfway mark is there, yep. And this is going to be positioned around here, with everything else kind of building up from it. I'm going to go do geometry editing mode, and I'm literally going to pull this out to here. And this to here. And now I'm just going to build straight upwards. And this material is going to be set to the ruins plane material. So I'm going to go back to place mode, ruins, and I'm going to set this to be the stone wall. Now initially when I apply it, we're going to get that, which is obviously quite ugly. And that's purely because it's tiling across this. So let's change the scale to be something that's a little bit nicer. So if I was to set the scale to lower, it's going to get smaller. If I set it to larger number, such as 5, we're going to get something that looks like it's a bit more at home, which is probably a good start. Now, I think it's a good move here for us to design one half and then mirror it, and then go through and break it and then make it no longer look entirely mirrored. But we essentially want to develop this to be, at least in its early stages, looking like it was at some stage a nice match for the pieces. So the first thing there is going to be, I'm going to start setting up the railings around these curves. And after I've done the railings around the curves, I'm going to start setting up just doorway meshes and stuff like that along this wall. So static meshes, I know there's a curved railing already, and it's called SM Plains Castle Railing, but I can just type in the word rail. Now the one that I'm going to be adding here is going to be the 45. For those of you who are astute, you'll notice that this is not a 45-degree curve, but rather a 90-degree one. So if I just put that there initially, needs to come down even further. Snap grid. There we go. Spacebar, I'm going to Alt drag so that we end up with it copying to here. Now the issue here is that my snap grid is set to 10 degrees. So I'm going to go back and set this to 5. Alt drag again. Now at the moment we're going to have a little bit of a gap, just purely because of how this mesh has been created. I can live with that though, I think. I'm just going to need to make sure I have something that's hiding that in the long run. For the sides here, I'm going to go and get these pillars back and kind of position these to come to here. And I'm going to pull them out of the wall to around there. And in the long run, these are going to be stacked reasonably high. So I'm going to put a couple of these in. Yeah, that looks okay. So ideally I'm going to build a cliff face around this section, which should look quite nice, but I'm going to hold off on that for the minute and just get the wall together and then build the cliffs around the wall. The next thing that I'm going to want kind of coming out of this is going to be an archway. So I'm just going to grab the ruins castle arch, Now at the moment we've been using these ones before, but I want to use this because it's far nicer for the kind of doorway that I'm going to be creating. And I'm going to set this to be reasonably large. Let's go with perhaps 1.5. Looks good. And it'll be on the other side as well. So we're going to have an archway on one side, which I think would look quite nice with just various assets such as these kind of hanging off of it and such. Maybe a flag or something. And then we're going to have the doorway kind of sticking up and out of it. So we've got a couple of those that we could use for a doorway. There are these nice support structures that are already in here though. So I'm going to get this one. And this is going to be on either side of the door that we kind of add in. So this is here. And I'm going to pull it up. And that should look kind of tempted to scale up a bit higher. So this kind of sits snugly. And this means I can put the doorway that I want to have in there, as well as another one of these on the other side. Might need to move these across, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So for the main doorway, the door I'm going to drop in is again going to be an arch. And the arch I'm going to use is this one here. It's a little bit smaller, which means when I scale it up it won't quite go as high. That's good. Let's move it up. It's probably a bit high. Let's move it up to about here so we can kind of have some stairs coming up to it and protruding. I really want this to be kind of flush in with the support structure as well, so it's gonna should be nice if we lined up this head with this head. There we go. So that's a good initial support structure. And I'm going to pull this across for the same effect. It's a good idea to kind of get the door in early as well, so we really kind of start looking at this as less of an arch and more of a door. So there's a good way to do that is I'm just going to alt drag and tap on the word door. So I know there's a couple of them. In this case I'm just going to set it to door 2, which is just here. Now unfortunately door 2 by default, so we're actually going to work a little bit to kind of get this positioned correctly, but that shouldn't be too much drama. I think this will probably be here. Because this door's never opening as well, it doesn't matter if it doesn't perfectly match. Actually, I might flip it around because this one has a. Oh wait, no, there we go. That's nice. So that's out by just a little bit. Let's say about 5 centimeters if I were to guess. Yeah, that now goes up to the top. And that'll be our door. So from here we're going to need a little bit of a platform and a stairwell to kind of come up to it. So I'm going to just cheat and use the assets that I've already dropped in the past. So the quickest way to do that is to just alt drag this from over here up. Just rotate it around. And now I want this to go from the line on this pillar, so it looks like a good natural point, to there. Fits quite snugly, so we end up with a staircase that kind of looks like that. Then that last step goes in. There's a couple of ways we could handle this. If we wanted to, I could boost the height of this just by a little bit. So just come straight up to it. I think as well for assets like this though, you don't just want to have it built into the wall, you really want to go the whole way and have it kind of sticking out of the wall. So I'm going to alt drag this up to here, and I'm going to add in some more support structures that we had. There is these, which work quite nicely, the buttress. So this is something I'm going to have to find a good scale for, because I want these kind of coming down to the ground. Because of where the pivot point is on these, you're going to need to transform one of these and mirror it to get the nice equivalent location. There we go. I'm just lining up the middle with that inner seam up there. I think it looks reasonably good as a starting point. I think I'm going to do is pull this closer into the wall, so it's a bit more decorative. And this is going to come up flush against it, same way I did here, so slightly encroaching, just pull it across to there. So ideally we want to have some sort of statue or something kind of coming up this middle section as well, which means that it's a good idea for me to move everything we've just done across. So just control clicking on everything, and I'm just going to shift it across just a bit so that we've got some room to have something in that middle area without it really getting in the way. I might as well just actually bring this all the way over to the point that it touches that wall there, which means that as you come up you'd be able to go into there. Cool, so that's it for setting up the first part of the wall. We'll move into the second in just a moment.